Hello, people. Good day, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time you're listening to this podcast or watching this video from. I hope you're having fun and staying safe this season. I'm here again with yet another exciting guest on today's episode of This Dev Life. But before we get into the show today, if this is your first time, please go ahead and subscribe so you get notified when we post new episode of this podcast. It's a really interesting one. You can go and listen to the past episodes and the interesting stuff we got going on. So go ahead, like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Now, to the main show for the day, I have an interesting friend on the show. You probably hardly ever see his face. Thank God I was opportune to see his face just once in my entire life. You can see him. So, Mr. Akintunde Sultan, welcome on the show. How you doing?
Fine. Hello, Dara.
Yeah, so let's go ahead and meet
good
you.
Good morning, good evening, good night from wherever you are. Okay, right. So my name is Sultan, Akintunde Sultan. I'm a developer, kind of like a wide range. I do a little bit of front end, back end. I've dabbled in mobile also for a while. There was even a time I was so interested in focusing on DevOps. I mean, some people would say DevOps is not a dev language, but then development and operation is still very important.
Mm-hmm.
So, people call it cloud security. Am I right? So I think that's the name. That's the main common name now. So I run one of the amazing non-profits in Africa called Dev Career, and I'm also the co-founder at Talent QL. Talent QL is a talent outsourcing company in Africa. And what else again do I do? What again do I do?
You hide your face.
I think that does not qualify. Okay, yeah, I'm also an ambassador at Grant for the Web. I've been working with the team from Mozilla, Coil, and Creative Commons to actually introduce folks in Africa to web monetization. I've been working with the team from Mozilla and Coil for a few months now, and it's been really interesting. Yeah, so I think that's pretty much it about me.
Yeah, I wanted to know that you introduced me to monetization on the web, so I make some couple of cents here and there on my podcast and videos. So he's one of the people that made that happen for me. Thanks very much for that. Now,
yeah, thanks for being an early adopter.
Yeah, sure. So, one of the things that actually made me know you is one of the initiatives you started. Was it last year, last 2 years? That's a laptop for developers program, where you give out laptops to developers and all that. So what was actually the core motivation behind such an initiative for you?
Well, sincerely, it was by chance. It was not as if I had it all figured out when it started. It was luck, chance, and let's just say I was a little bit privileged. So what actually brought everything up was a friend reached out to me. She needed a laptop, and someone gave her money for laptop on Twitter. And she was like, "Oh, this some person which I've never met, by the way, gave me this certain amount to get a laptop. This is like 90% of the amount I need. Could you help me with the 10? Oh, wait, what? Let's forget about the 10% you're asking for. Who gave you money?" I was like, "Oh, somebody is a developer on Twitter." I was like, "Wait, wow. And how long have you been needing this laptop?" She said, I've needed it for a very long time, and there's no way for me to afford it. I mean, one thing about Nigeria and majorly most African countries, we are not really that privileged when it comes to buying that debt because we don't have that luxury of paying instrumentally. So you want to buy anything, you go to the store and you pay in cash. I mean, if you're in the US, in the UK, you could always pay over a long period of time, 2 years, 1 year. So when you see anybody using the MacBook Pro in Nigeria or an iPhone or Samsung mobile, it's definitely being paid for in cash at once. So it's sometimes it's not really comfortable. A lot of people are not really financially stable enough to go to the store and get a PC at once. So at that particular point in time, a friend of mine happens to be in that situation. I mean, my story is totally different because I was born in that situation. I mean, I spent years in that situation on my mobile phone. And then I think we were focusing on the path that led to the creation of laptops for developers. So what I did was I came online and I was like, oh, if you need one laptop, I'm guessing a lot of people also need laptops. How about I try and fundraise ₦1 million? ₦1 million is close to, let's say, $3,200. Let's say ₦1 million, and was it up to that? No, definitely by just $3,000 max, probably 2008. Yeah, that was last year, 2019, around July. Exactly. So it's probably just 2008 or so, 2005. The dollar was 360 naira or 380 back then. And so I came on last, like I wanted to fundraise ₦1 million to buy laptops for 10 people, and that was just it. I mean, the idea was just to buy the laptop and just give to 10 people, nothing more. Then people started asking questions like, oh, what would happen when you give them the laptop? And tons of questions started coming out. Oh, how are you sure that they will use laptop for the right thing? That aside, the other part was that over 1,000 people, in the span of about 24 hours, over 1,000 people reached out to me. I was like, oh, please let me be one of the 10 people. And I was like, wait, a lot of people actually need laptop for development, software development, this much. I mean, it was like, oh, let me just get 10. And I was hoping, sincerely, low key, I was hoping that, oh, I would probably get just 300,000 naira and just buy for 3. And maybe just a few people would show up. I had no idea that we were even going to go that far. So the numbers were pouring in, and I had to see that, oh, beyond my own, should I say, my own view, my own range of view, my own perspective, quite a lot of people are actually suffering the same issues. And I think this is more like a national problem. So I was like, okay, how about we do this and try and create a structure around everything. So helping the GoFundMe with the goal of getting £5,000 and actually helping out 20 developers at the end. That was the goal. The goal was to get £5,000 and support 20 developers. But this time, I've decided to put a structure around it where it's not just going to be giving out laptop. It's going to be giving out laptop, providing them with mentorship, providing them with courses, and also internet and electricity. I mean, that's pretty much everything you need.
Yeah.
You get the internet and electricity, you get mentorship, you get a course, and now you get the hardware. So I factored that in. I was like, okay, let's use £5,000. And it took us 3 months to raise that £500. And to me, it looks totally unachievable. I mean, for the first week, we had, was it £2 in donation? £2 or £3. For the first week, the first 7 days, we had £3 in donation. The first 2 weeks, we had no money from Nigeria at all for the first 2 weeks. And I was almost giving up, like, oh, I really don't think this will work out. And that's just how it goes. And well, the donation started coming in, and in 3 months, we raised the £5,000. And thanks to the developer community on Twitter, and we started the whole process. So it was getting to a very tough stage because now you have the money and people expect you to deliver. I mean, so you don't want to come around and tell people that, oh, I gave out the laptops, but the people I gave it to ran away. I don't know, it's going to sound
It's
really
gonna
absurd.
sound
And
ridiculous.
that's where the issue of your own credibility comes into play. So what I did was we had to divide the program into 3 different stages. The first stage is, of course, we know the fundraising stage, where we spent 3 months fundraising £5,000. While the second stage was the selection stage. Okay, we now have this money. We can afford to buy these laptops for 20 people, and we can afford to give them courses and pay for their ops. How do we pick the right people? So we started selection. It took a while. Hello, are you there?
Yes, I'm with you.
Oh, okay. But it kind of looked like before. And so we decided to say, okay, let's pick people based on various criteria. So we started testing. We gave people assessments, IQ tests, a little fundamental coding test, just to make sure we sought the very best of the best that deserve this opportunity. And at the end, we ended up picking 22 people. I think about 7 was female, which is a little bit part of my own fault because I did not pay substantial efforts or amount of time into making sure that the numbers were balanced. So we did that, and the 22 people that came on board, we had them in Lagos, Abuja, and Oyo State. In Oyo State, we partnered with a hub called Hub 67. In Lagos State, we partnered with 2 hubs, one on the mainland and the other on the island. We had Impact Hub on the island and CC Hub on the mainland. Right in Abuja, we partnered with Innovation Hub. So we were able to make sure that the opportunity is to a fair degree evenly distributed, not just Lagos. And when it comes to tech opportunities in Nigeria, Lagos is only 51. Exactly. So we were able to actually spread it across different locations. And I'm glad that the 22 people that started, all of them finished. I think it takes, should I say, considerable amount of effort to have 22 people in the program, and all the 22 would finish. But I think that was because we had a very tough selection stage. I mean, over 4,000 people applied, and we were only going to pick 22. So we did a lot of selection stage. We had an aptitude test, the coding test, the physical interview. We did a physical interview in all locations for everybody that qualified before we actually picked the top 22 that would come into the program. So and right now, I think the last one was on March. I'm trying to remember the dates exactly, but I think the last cohort finished on the 14th of November last year,
Mm.
2019. And immediately a week before we finished, one of the developers already got a job offer.
Ah.
And as of now, about 19 of them are now working in companies. So I think the way we would classify the sources of dev career, oh yeah, that's the name, dev career. So laptop for developer happens to be the hashtag and co. But then when we wanted to register the non-profit, we registered under the name dev career, developers career. And our website is devcareer.io, devcarer.io. So we thank the developer community on that, and we finished the first cohort really much amazing. It was tough. We had freelance, I said freelance. We had volunteer mentors, volunteer coordinators, and so on. It was pretty hectic, but then I'm glad that we were able to calculate that the success of the program does not no longer lies in the numbers of the developers we train, but in how many lives and how many should I say how many of them are able to forge a career path
In
in that
that
particular training.
field, yeah.
We could always say, oh, between 20, between 40, between 50. But how many of those 20, 40, 50 actually now have a career intake because of the program? I mean, there are a lot of training programs out there where people go to, and at the end they come out, it's still nothing. So that's why we're always trying to keep the numbers small to what we can manage. We finished the first cohort pretty well, and we started the second cohort with the goal of training 50 developers. We were going to fundraise £10,000, and luckily, thanks to the developer community again, we fundraised about £19,800.
Mm.
That was still like
That was boom.
100% extra. I'm telling you. I mean, we had donations from amazing folks like Java champion Andy Jones, AWS developer advocate Nada Dadit. We had donations from you, Dara. We had donations from you. Yeah, and you, I should have mentioned this also. Thank you very much for your support on the first cohort. You were part of the Nigerians who actually supported the program from the first cohort. Thank you very much.
Sure.
So we had donations from Jack Dorsey, the current CEO of Twitter. We had donations from a lot of amazing people, Sarah Drashna, Tejas Kumar. We had a lot of donations from the Otemu Yuwa. You should know Otemu Yuwa.
Of course, I do.
I definitely so Prosper Otemu Yuwa, so the co-founder of Eden Life. So he was the one who even actually initiated donations for the first cohort, giving us £1 million to start up the donations for the first cohort. Thank you very much, Prosper. So the second cohort, second cohort and that. So we were lucky we picked 50 people in total. But the amazing thing now is that the 50 people are actually coming from 4 different African countries. We now have folks in Nigeria, in Ghana, Kenya, and Zambia. So it was really amazing. And yeah, the 50 people was 25 males and 25 females. I could continue talking more about how the program is going and but I don't think we'll finish here.
Yeah,
So thank you
definitely.
very much.
Yeah, and I think the folks that come out of those programs, I've met a couple of them. One of them is actually working on some stuff for me, currently, and it's really nice the level of excellence that they put into kind of work they do. It shows the process that they've gone through to actually make sure that they are quality and they are ready for the industry really. So I want to say thank you very much for that, Mr. Akintunde Sultan. Now,
Thank you very much for working with one of our developers.
now, um, the main talk of the show is to actually talk about the developer community in Nigeria. And I know this is one of the things you're passionate about to ensure that folks are able to access the needed resources to forge ahead and make a career out of themselves. So, what does it feel like being one of the few who are at the forefront of ensuring that developers in Nigeria, at least to the best of your extent, are catered for in terms of hooking them with mentorship, devices, and then putting them into in the sort of career line? What does it feel like to you as a person?
Should I say overwhelming? It was amazing to be able to help. It also feels overwhelming being actually, should I say, the one that actually has to do a whole lot of work and reaching out. Things have been going pretty well sincerely, and the community has been really amazing. And one cool thing is that you really can do it yourself.
Definitely.
So whether you are the forerunner or not, you really still actually can do it yourself. But the good part is that the community has been really amazing. So and we have a whole lot of people ahead of me, beside me that we've been working together, and It's pretty much amazing to a fair degree, and it's pretty much overwhelming also. I mean, sometimes you'll be the contact person
Yeah.
between. I'm a very community person, so you get to interact with a lot of developers in different levels, from the junior to the intermediate to the senior levels, and it happens now that I'm now in a field where I'm actually even going to be interacting with, should I say, the the senior company levels and co also.
Hmm.
So it's overwhelming, and yes, I think we're going to dive into it. I don't know if there's any specific questions that we could just use to actually point different activities on that particular hand.
Okay, so actually, that sort of brings us to the new adventure you started a few weeks back, and that's Talent QL. So Talent QL, what about it? What is Talent QL? What is your role at Talent QL? What does Talent QL do? Let's hear about it from you.
Okay, let's say Talent Square is doing a lot and in a different way. So what I mean by that is Talent Square is not just an hiring company, and it's not just an agency, it's not just a startup. It's a community-based startup that caters for different aspects of developer life. The whole focus is to make sure that we have developers produce excellence. And this is the one of the ways we're going about that is to have a pipeline model that caters for the growth of developers, meaning we get to actually support developers from the mid-level, from junior level to mid-level, and entering into a company. So it's more, so this is going to be like an insider information, but it's more like, let's say, you get developers, you equip them, start even paying them, and start training them towards entering a certain company. I don't know if you get. So let's say, for instance, now give me a company. Let's say any
Google.
company. Okay, let's say Google, for example. You have developers that are going to be in junior level right now, and you want to start training them in Angular. Yeah, Google owns Angular, right?
I think so. Last time I checked.
I think there's Angular JS and then there's Angular, and still trying to pinpoint which one exactly belongs to Google. But let's just use Angular as an example. So you start training these developers in Angular way. You partnering with Google, and Google is expecting in a few months' time, you expecting you to have shown this developer to a certain level so that they could now actually join the team at Google. Meaning you're kind of running like a small internship opportunities for folks that are unable to get internships to actually get that internship from us with the whole goal of immediately you finish this internship, you're going to join this company full time. So that's one of it. There's also a pipeline model. That's a pipeline model. So there's also we hiring for international companies, Nigeria, and there's also the main thing in talent scale, which is the talent management. Meaning we are open to build a city of amazing developers here in Nigeria. Look, just close your eyes and imagine Silicon Valley in Africa here. So having different campuses where developers can work with their own companies or other remote companies from our own campuses
Hmm.
and actually have everything taken care of. All they have to do is just look for our best to deliver more and more, and they probably have nothing else to worry about. So mainly that's the main public scope about talent creation actually.
All right, and I'm actually I've been seeing a lot about it online, and I felt, oh, if I'm bringing you on the show, man, as well just talk about it. And thanks for giving us that sort of information. So, just follow him on Twitter, of course. If you don't follow him yet, I don't know why you are not following him. So follow him to get more information about that. There are a couple of folks who are also involved, as in guys I actually look up to in the tech industry in Nigeria. Kweyemi, Adewale. There's some other folks on the team. I can't quite remember their name right now. Okay, Mr. Sultan, thanks very much for coming on this podcast. Now we've pretty much talked about everything we wanted to talk about. But as someone who is like one of the forefront people in the tech community in Nigeria, if you wanted to talk to, say, someone who is just starting an industry, say secondary school, and wants to pursue a career in this
Okay.
industry, what advice, maybe two, 3 to 5 points, would you give to such a person such that they can make the right decisions and get to the right place?
All right. So what happened was this I asked a lot of developers last year about how they picked their career field. I mean, I asked folks like Mark, which is the founder of front-end masters. I had Scott, which is the founder of Scotch.io. I had Scott Ansuma, who is a senior developer at Microsoft. I asked tons and tons and tons of people, and I got one major answer. Like, there's really no right way to come into tech. So, and a lot of these developers came in from one language, ended up focusing on another language. So, what I would advise is make your research. That would really save you a lot of time. Try and understand that tech is wide and it does not really have to do about coding.
Mm-hmm.
And even when it has to do about coding, there are different aspects of tech that requires coding at different levels. Once you're able to just read up about that first, I mean, you're a novice, you probably just know that it's just tech and code, but I would want you to understand that tech is more than building websites and building mobile app. That's just like 10% of what tech is about. Tech is wide, tech is IoT, tech is health, tech is environmental, tech is a lot of things. So when you try and take a lot of time to make research, it gives you the perspective of different angles that you could come into tech for. And one good thing is that you will be able to actually pick the part that actually interests you, that tickles your fancy. So the part that interests you a lot. So I mean, if you're the kind of person that, you love designs and code, you could now say, after reading about all this, let me kind of be a front-end developer. The kind of person that actually loves robotics and code, you know that of course there is a whole house robotic. Oh, I forgot my language. There's a whole part of tech that has to do with robotics itself, IoT. There's a lot of tech. So when you make research, it gives you a perspective and a wider broad view of what exactly it is you're trying to dive into. And then the next thing is the course outline. So when you try to pick a certain field, it's easier if you have a course to follow. So I think the next thing is now looking for the course providers in that certain field. Say, for instance, give me a tech field that you think is not really that common.
Scalar.
Scalar, exactly. Don't pick Scalar. Whatever it is you do, don't pick Scalar. Don't pick Scalar. Nobody likes Scalar any longer.
Okay,
Okay, but I'm just joking actually. But then, okay, you could give me something
embedded
to say
programming.
right. Okay, embedded programming. So when you say, you've read about a lot of stuff and what you feel is really cool for you and you're kind of very much interested in is embedded programming, the next thing is to look out for the platforms that provide courses on embedded programming. I mean, you could try and ask online, you could ask people, you could reach out to fellow friends, communities, and co. So when you have a course outline to follow, it kind of saves you a lot of time, sincerely. I mean, when I started my own coding journey, I learned PHP first, before learning CSS, before learning HTML. That was the way I started. And sincerely, I said it once and everybody was like, how come, how come? It's like that because number one, I started on a mobile phone. Number two, PHP was all I needed to learn because I never knew that there was anything for me to learn HTML and CSS. It was more of the whole process this was during the period of Wapka.mobi, where you had to code online. Exactly. This was the period of .tk. So it was more of you trying to create a social media platform where people can share resources. I'm trying to refer to tweaking as resources right now. So that was the kind of environment I grew up in, and all I needed to do was learn PHP. Whenever the only time I get to focus on, let's say, learn HTML is whenever I just come here to copy. So I felt HTML is very, you don't need to learn it. You just have to go there and say, it's time to create a table. Go and copy TDTR. It's CSS. What color do you want to do? It's color red. Okay, go and copy arrow to make a tab color red from this particular website. That's all. So later on, I actually had to learn everything from scratch. That was because I had no guidance and I did not follow a particular course. So what I'm saying is when you pick up a field, then you look for a course. If you are opportune to get a mentor, that's amazing. It's not necessary, but it's important because there are times that even courses you're trying to follow would have issues, or perhaps you're unable to run stores locally and co. When you have human beings to interact with that have passed through the stage before, it kind of makes things very easy. Another thing again is when you've done embedded programming for a very long time and you no longer feel like it, you are free to move to another thing entirely. So whatever you are starting up with is not what you have to end up with.
Mm-hmm.
You don't even have to end up with anything. You can always do anything you want to do, as long as it's making you money and you're happy about it. That's it. Exactly, you're happy, exactly. So there's no perfect tech field, and it does not mean that because you started learning this, you cannot drop it and learn something else. If you start learning this and you're not feeling it any longer, it's okay, leave it and learn something else. Sincerely, you might end up not even writing codes any longer. You still be perfect as a developer. You still be in the ecosystem making amazing changes. So I think that it's from my own hand.
Wow, thanks very much for those words of wisdom coming from you. So, friends, there you have it, Mr. Akintunde Sultan, giving us all the dishes of wise words and all about dev career, talent skill, and the things he's been up to as a developer, his journey, and everything about that. And if you like this episode, please go ahead and share it with your friends because what's the fun of listening to this if people cannot know you actually listen to it? So, till I come your way again, I would like Mr. Sultan to just say goodbye to our listeners.
All right, thank you very much. So if you have any questions, you could drop it in the comment section. I will be coming here regularly to check out for questions and answer. I mean, we could have conversations in the comment section here.
Definitely.
So you can just come drop your questions. I will come online definitely. I'll check and I will reply you and we can have conversations in the comment section. Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks very
Thank you.
much. Thanks very much. So, people, till I come your way again with quite another episode of This Dev Life, which should probably be sometime next year. This is the final episode for the year 2020. So, I'll see you in the new year. Christmas would have passed by the time you're actually listening to this, but whenever you listen to
Jesus
this,
is currently about to come to life.
yeah, have a very Merry Christmas, whatever Christmas is the future for you, and a Happy New Year. Goodbye, people. See ya.
Stay safe. Use your mask.
Yeah, if COVID still exists.
Yeah.
Bye, everyone.